Thank you all so much for coming to our session today. I hope you've had a great event so far. We are really excited to be here on behalf of the Veeam team. My name is Tim Hudson. I am the Principal Solution Architect for our Veeam Cloud and Service Provider group in North America. I'm joined by my colleague, Ron. I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah, my name is Ron Martin. I work in Veeam's R&D division, and I'm the PM primarily responsible for the integration.
All right, so the topic of today is, of course, the Veeam plugin for scale computing HyperCore. We're going to just have a couple of intro slides. I want to make sure everyone is level set for who we are and what we're doing today, although based on my booth conversations, you all have most of this information. And then we're going to dive right into the product. We'll discuss features and have a demo, and then talk to you about how you can access our beta we released this week. So first of all, if you don't know who Veeam is, or maybe you aren't sure what we've been doing for the last 15 plus years, we've always been focused on data protection and data resilience. Today, we are number one in global market share for data protection. It's a really incredible achievement. I'm very happy to be here. I've been here about 8 years, working with our cloud and service providers in my role. You can see on screen, there's a couple of other number ones. The thing we'll talk about today is data portability. I think it's relevant to all you scale users. I know this is a little hard to see, but this helps you understand, as we talk about data portability, where does this data come from and where can we take it to? So when I think of our product set, we talk about the Veeam Data Platform, being able to protect workloads, being able to monitor, report on them, being able to orchestrate mass recoveries. What are these workloads? You can see on screen: cloud, virtual, physical, application, software as a service. We've always been known for what we've done with Badcom, Hyper-V, many other hypervisors. You can see them up on screen, and we're so excited to talk about scale today. Of course, we also have integrations with our physical agents, things that run directly on a Windows guest OS, Linux, AIX, Solaris, so on and so forth. And of course, deep application integrations with things like Microsoft SQL, Postgres, and so much more. So we want to jump right into our features. Ron's going to take this over, and we'll talk about what we're doing to provide data protection for scale HyperCore.
Yeah, so I do have some good news. I've worked for software companies most of my career, and there's 1.0 versions, and then there's very 1.0 versions. And the good news is this is a 1.0 version, not a very 1.0 version like you may run into at times. So particularly if you're familiar with Veeam, these features are going to look pretty similar, pretty familiar to you. But we'll just run through them, particularly if you're not familiar with what we do. So of course, it's full image level backup with CBT. So there are some hypervisor manufacturers out there that want to work with us but don't have CBT. And unfortunately, Scale is not one of them. They have a very evolved CBT capabilities, so that we don't have to do full scans every time. Well, we can just simply get the change regions from Scale APIs and move on with our incremental backups in a very efficient manner.
Hey, Ron. Hey, I got a lot of questions in the booth. Is our solution agentless or agent-based?
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, good question. So it's agents today, or has been agents traditionally with Scale. Good news with Scale is they have a great set of APIs. What we'll show later, and we'll talk about is the V1. Be completely agentless. No need for any agents. No need for any runtime capabilities. No need for SSH. It's all completely agentless, purely REST driven. So the other thing we like to create ways for you to source your backup jobs in a way that's rational. So we'll give you a few options with the V1. If you want to just back up your entire cluster, you can set the cluster scope as a source for your backup job. Obviously, you can do VMs a la carte, and then Scale also supports tagging. So with the V1, we'll support tagging. So if you've implemented tagging in your environment and you have dev and prod and test and whatever, you can create your backup jobs. We'll actually show this in the demo based on tag scopes. And then, again, it's table safe stuff, but just so you know it's there for your backup jobs. Obviously primarily about including VMs, but we can also exclude them based on name patterns or individual VMs. Same with disks. If there are a particular disk you don't need to back up for whatever reason with your VMs, we'll include disk exclusions with the V1. And we will support all the backup repository types except for a couple classes. One is the Snowball, the hyperscaler like S3 appliance. Like if you're doing big data migrations between maybe on-prem and cloud, we don't actually support those with a subset of our products. That won't be supported in the first one. Not a big use case. The other one is Cloud Connect. We'll get there with Cloud Connect and AHV and Scale and the what we call the VB products. But in the first version, we'll let you do backup copies to Cloud Connect, but you'll run into a Hotel California problem. You can check out but never leave. So we'll get to that one soon. And then for backup efficiency, we're supporting our what we call BitLooker as opposed to BitLocker, which for NTFS file systems, if the block is marked for deletion, if it's the page file, we won't attempt to back those particular blocks up at all.
Okay,
so we're just going to tag team on some of these features here.
Yeah, of course, what you've seen in some of these screenshots is a wizard-driven system. All of our products are essentially wizard-driven. Here in this wizard step, of course, you're able to supply an email address or distro list to be notified about job performance or job behavior. Of course, you're able to select some of these options around space savings. We have this for all of our hypervisor and agent-based integrations. Compression is essentially these zip type libraries. You can have additional compression at the cost of some CPU, and you're able to choose what are the block sizes that we're reading, which essentially determine what kind of storage we're using for that particular backup set. So these are all common options, and of course they're included in version 1. We're also going to see the inclusion of our health check capabilities. It really makes sense. We are backing up all this data. We have to make sure that it passes our standard CRC checks and so on and so forth. Of course, that's included in version 1. We need to make sure the data we back up is good over time, right? Of course, we're also able to provide a backup copy for this data. And what this means in Veeam terms is we typically see our customers take a backup onto a local repository in the same facility that your workloads reside in. We know in the Veeam world, we see about 95% of our restores come from that local backup set. But you've got to be able to protect your data outside of that facility. We use this process we call a backup copy job to take that data to another facility, maybe a service provider, object storage, or maybe even a hyperscaler public cloud. And of course, tape support. I was surprised, but really pleased that I had a number of folks come up in the booth and ask if this was going to be included. And so, Ron, I'm really grateful to the team that they included tape support here.
Yeah, everybody wants to say it's dead, but it is absolutely not dead.
Yeah, we continue to invest in tape support, and the industry continues to develop new and better tape solutions. We also have a feature we call Veeam Zip, which is essentially an ad hoc backup that is portable. You can take a backup of any workload. It's in a single file, and you can carry that around wherever you want. You can squirrel it away somewhere safe if you need, and even set an expiration date, and we'll go and remove that ad hoc backup at a future time. It's outside of your normal retention, so really neat to see that come in.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and then one of the things that we've talked about, like kind of at around the booth, is our portability features. So our backup format is designed to be portable, so that it can be moved between platforms. So from a VM restore perspective, we'll be able to take any kind of backup and restore it to any other kind of platform. So if you have Nutanix backup or Nutanix workloads that you want to restore to Google Cloud or AWS or vice versa. If you've gone to the cloud and you've discovered, hey, it's not as cheap as I thought, you need to repatriate a workload back to on-prem. The same sort of motion applies. We will support, and these are specific for scale backups, any kind of incident recovery to Nutanix or Hyper-V or VMware. Now, obviously, you're probably not looking to move from scale to VMware if we do realize that. But just so you know, just to illustrate the feature portability, that's going to be there.
Yeah, so these are all for scale backups. These
Yeah.
are restore capabilities when you back up with this integration where we'll be able to restore, and then we'll show you the inverse operation in a minute.
Yeah, in just a minute. And then from a restore perspective too, we want to give you granularity beyond just the full image level so that we can apply it to disk as well. So if you just need, for instance, to restore a particular disk from a VM, you can restore just that disk without having to restore the entire. For instance, if you can't boot it, if your boot process gets corrupted somehow, and you don't want to restore the 16 terabyte data disk with that VM as well, we can just restore the the boot partition, the boot volume there, as well as be able to take from the backup and export those backups as different portable files like BMDKs or BHDXs, etc. And then we also support something which I think is pretty cool, is we call it disk publishing, so that I can crack open a backup and I can say, take the second volume and mount it to another server. And it doesn't have to be a Veeam server necessarily. It could be in any sort of host that you want to mount that backup to. So in case you're doing want to do some kind of forensic work on that, the data in that disk volume, it makes it very easy to do that. There we go. And then, of course, file level restore as well. So, so user deleted a file, you accidentally deleted a file. You can either crack the backup open, copy that file somewhere else, or copy it back to the live running VM. And then, just a caveat here. So we have something in the product, and we've talked to several of you about this, called application-aware processing. And application-aware processing is kind of a combination of two things. It's one, quiescence. So particularly for Windows workloads, it's, we will, before we run our backup processing, we will attempt to run VSS quiescence. And then we also do some integration with particular applications like, popular databases with Active Directory, SharePoint, Exchange, etc. And then we actually store metadata on not just, the image level backup, but on the application workloads that are running in them, so that we're able to then, instead of having to, say somebody deletes an on-prem Exchange mailbox, you don't have to restore the entire VM. We can go in with what we call our explorers and just restore that mailbox. Or if somebody deletes an Active Directory OU or a SQL table, we can just go in surgically restore those. And while we won't support the full application aware with the 1.0, although we'll be working on it in the future, you'll be able to still mount those backups, open it up with the explorers, and do the sorts of recoveries that you would expect. And then in terms of getting to scale, again, the same proposition applies. So if the backup is VMware, if it's AHV, if it's OLVM, if it's Proxmox, we can restore that backup again to scale.
Yeah, so again, we're taking any backup from any of the systems on the left. We'll create a Veeam backup with them. And from that same Veeam backup and replication server that's controlling the backups on the left, we can orchestrate a recovery to scale for any of those backups, and we'll do all the conversion during that process.
Yep. Were you doing these or was I doing it?
Go ahead.
Just like we rehearsed it, right? Okay. So, one of the things that you heard this morning was about Scale's security focus, and this is another, I guess, aspect of our relationship where we have really, really good alignment, because we've had a very high security focus within Veeam, particularly for the last couple of years. So I want to talk about a couple of the security features that we're going to include with the V1. The first one is what we call inline or entropy analysis. Essentially, this is this is like block level stuff. So as we're reading blocks, change blocks from during the backup process, we're actually looking for encryption. So we're looking for net change on those blocks, and if it exceeds whatever you've specified on your kind of slider there, then we'll flag that backup as potentially suspicious. And so that you can then at some point, maybe you can then go use instant recovery or disk publishing and go do some forensic analysis on that. We also have something we call, so that's more like at the real-time processing block level examination time. We can also do what we call Sure Backup Lite, which lets you do scheduled scans. So the scheduled scans can be one or both. File scans, just check for like onion links or known malicious file extensions. This uses Yara. If you're not familiar with that, you can look into that. You can use our Yara definitions, or you can use your own. We have our own virus scanning technology called Veeam Threat Hunter. But again, it's the same proposition there. If you have a preferred one, you can use your own there as well. And then you can go back through basically and mount your backups, scan them, just make sure there's nothing malicious in there. This is probably not as applicable, but just so you know it's there, we do implement with a number of SIM and SOAR tools. So CrowdStrike, Splunk, etc. Palo Alto. When those tools, so that we have some API integration with those tools, so that if they're able to detect something on a VM or a physical machine that we're backing up, a host name that we're backing up, they can actually signal us, and then we can flag a backup as potentially malicious. So that again, you can go and then mount that backup, run your forensic tools on it, see if there's in fact something wrong. And then I did actually forget about this one until literally just this morning, during the scale security session. But we can do multi-factor. We apply multi-factor controls to the console. We have RBAC capabilities, which we're dramatically expanding in the next couple releases. And we have what we call 4 eyes authorization. So if you're going to do a malicious, a disruptive act, like such as, I want to delete backups. Well, you can actually, within our console, say, that's going to require 4 eyes authorization. And I need at least 2 admins to approve that deletion, for instance. I think you have this one.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about architecture and actually how it works. So I mentioned this console earlier, the Veeam Backup and Replication Console. That's our core product. That's where this integration exists. Of course, in the middle of the screen, you're seeing a Scale Computing HyperCore cluster. And on the far right, a Veeam Backup Repository, which is where we're storing this data. So essentially how this works is Veeam Backup and Replication will contact a cluster over REST API. And then we will orchestrate a series of a snapshot and perform a backup by reading this data. The way we do that inside the Scale cluster is through this machine you see on screen called a worker VM. So Ron's going to mention it or show it in the demo. When Veeam connects to that Scale cluster, we can deploy this worker image. It's a Veeam image. You don't have to install any guest OS. We deploy this image into the Scale cluster, and it performs this essentially like a data transport service for us. All right. Anything else?
Yeah. I think, does that take us up to? Oh, it does.
Yeah, I think we're ready to show it.
Okay, very nice. So there is this. This is a video. This is a backup. Who wants to see a video? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. All right. So we're going to show it live. So this is connected to my meager home lab. So it's not an enterprise grade deployment. So don't necessarily take the performance as representative, but it is there. So I wanted to take you through a couple things. One is I have several of you at the booth. We've already mentioned this a couple times. So we did release a beta yesterday. So fortuitous timing, right? And I'll actually talk through a couple of the steps to access the beta and things once we get done with the demo here. But there are 3 files. When you hit the beta download link, there are 3 files. There's a kind of a README, what's new, known issues, that sort of thing. There is an exceptionally generous license key that we give you. You may be able to read it there. There's 1,000 instances with you back up 1,000 VMs with it if you want. And then there's a zip file, and the zip file will contain 2 things. It will contain the VBR ISO, which again, you just mount the VBR ISO, run the setup, and that'll install Veeam Backup and Replication Core. And then we weren't able to get the Scale plugin automatically installed with that when in time for the beta. But then there's an executable that just says SC plugin, install Veeam backup and replication, run the SC plugin executable, and you'll be ready to go. So in my case, this is my Scale environment. So I have just like a handful of VMs up and running. Actually, they're not up and running because I have very few resources there. They're available to run if I wanted to. So this is my environment. And I also wanted to show you, once you just make sure, once you do the installation, you should see and install a plugin. You should see this. It's probably a little hard to read, but the Veeam plugin will be in your installed programs. Once you have Veeam installed, it's a quick and easy proposition to get it up and running. So it's simply a matter of going to the backup infrastructure section of our UI and hitting manage servers and saying add server. And then you'll get a number of options here. The first one is obviously virtualization platforms. So just hit virtualization platforms and voila. Scale computing. Yeah, you can clap if you want. That's all right. That's all right. Yeah.
It's been a long time coming. I hear.
I mean, we've heard that maybe once. We've been here. Yeah. Anyway, so then you can simply put a DNS name or an IP address in for your cluster. Hit next, add credentials, and then hit next again. And I've already added this because we don't have to go do the whole process. But then what we'll do is we'll connect to your cluster, we'll verify the credentials, and then we'll run our enumerations. We'll enumerate the VMs, enumerate the tags, the disks, all of the virtual infrastructure elements within your Scale cluster. And then at the end of that wizard, once you've done that, it's also going to pop up and say, hey, we require a worker or a proxy or a data mover, like Tim mentioned. Do you want to go ahead and deploy that? So as part of that process, the first thing we'll do is actually flipping back to my HyperCore cluster. We will upload a disk image to your media library that will look like this. This is just a raw VMDK. It's not anything particularly mysterious. It's just a Rocky Linux image that we use for our worker. So it'll first upload that, and then it will prompt you to say, well, what kind of parallelism effectively do you want with this? And since I've already deployed it, I'll show you what that looks like. Actually, that's a proxy. So here is the worker I deployed, and you can see actually that is here in my cluster. Oh, if I could get out of this. Okay, there we go. Oops, sorry. Aggressive clicking. You can see this, and it's powered off, but it has deployed that VM. And then there is the parameters essentially you can give it are, in my case, I have a very small environment. I just wanted to run 2 backup streams. So in the concurrent task section, it just says 2. But if I click the advanced tab or advanced button, you'll see it's allocated 4 vCPUs and 4 gig of RAM to that VM. We want 2 gig and 2 cores on that VM to run the core operating system, and then our services on top of that. And then we're also, I guess we didn't mention this in the feature list, but we're also allow you to set host affinity there for that worker then as well. So once you've defined your cluster, once you've created a worker, you're ready to create a backup job. So if we'll go to the home section of our console. Say I want to back up virtual machines, and this is our Scale demo. And I want to add some machines. And again, like we mentioned at the outset, if I want to just add them ad hoc, if I just want to select some, that's fine. I can select the whole cluster if I want, and it'll add all the VMs to that cluster. And as VMs come in and go out, we'll adjust the job accordingly. I think it's a little more interesting to do things by tag. So I can filter by tag, and you can see the VMs, which you saw in the HyperCore interface here, and I can just select a tag and say next. And Tim mentioned some of the advanced capabilities on the job. I can create active full backups. I can create synthetic full backups on some schedule. Tim mentioned health check, so I can schedule that health check job to run periodically. And I can say, do I want, usually the storage settings are fine by themselves, or what we recommend For instance, we do know that some like object storage manufacturers like a little bigger block than 1 meg. So, it is possible to change those, and it'll also set your email notifications in there. And you'll simply tell it when to run. I want it to run at midnight. Going to apply that. It's going to create the job, and then I'm going to say run the job when I click finish. And you can see the job is running. And the first thing it's going to do, wrong one there, 1 second. This is the one that's running. First of all, it's going to go through and enumerate the tags, build a list, and then it's going to prepare the worker. So if I flip back to my HyperCore system, you can see the worker is now powered on. And this is a feature a lot of people like. It's actually kind of an advantage over VMware. VMware proxies are on all the time. Scale proxies are only going to be on when they're doing backup and restore operations. So that's going to run and then show us all about it. And then at the end of it, you can go in and look at the job statistics. And as was pointed out to me just a few minutes ago, we also keep a log here. So if you want, as the backup job processes, we keep a log and we kind of enumerate the steps at the job level and then also at the individual VM level, telling you if it's an incremental backup, telling you if it's an application consistent backup or a snapshot or a crash consistent one. So you can do some basic diagnostic interpretation there as well. And then once you have backups, we hope you don't have to restore them all the time, but if you do, this is one of the other jobs that I created that's already completed running. So if I right click on that particular VM in the backup, you can see I can instant recover to other hypervisors. I can restore it to cloud. I can restore it to other hypervisors. I can export the disks as VMDKs or VHDXs. I can publish disks to other VM. Basically, the gamut of options that you have there is what we want you to have. So I think we're just about on time here. So that's what I wanted to show as far as a basic quick look at the V1. And then we'll flip back here 1 second. So as far as the minimums to support the beta is the brand new 9432. There were some API changes that Scale has been very gracious to make. And I will say Scale has been a joy to work with from an engineering perspective, and being able to get changes done in a very timely manner for us. So you'll need 9432. I don't have I didn't display the minor version number there. But then in order to get the beta, we do our betas a little different. They're not just open betas. We do it through our field SE team. You'll need to make contact, track down your local Veeam SE. They'll get you the link and the password. It is a gated download. You'll need to register a Veeam.com account. We'll charge for that, obviously, but you will need a Veeam.com account. Then download the beta, unzip it, install it on, a Windows host of some kind. We don't care if it's physical or virtual. It doesn't make any difference to us. Install the plugin, and you should be ready to go.